My dad's new wife demanded that I break up with my girlfriend for my stepbrother or leave, so I left and never looked back. When I was 20, my stepmom, Beth, literally sat me down and said, "Josh is failing college because he's obsessed with Laura. You need to break up with her or move out." I laughed. "You're joking, right?" Dad backed her up. "Son, maybe it's for the best. Keep peace in the family." The whole situation was absolutely insane. Josh had been creeping on Laura for months, following her around campus, showing up at her work uninvited, even asking her friends for her personal schedule. Laura was genuinely terrified of his behavior and had started taking different routes to class. But Beth saw it as young love and somehow decided I was the villain for not stepping aside for her precious son. "Laura could help Josh gain confidence with girls," she explained. "Like my girlfriend was some kind of therapy dog. You're naturally outgoing and charismatic. You'll find someone else easily. Josh needs this more than you do." When I told them, absolutely not, Beth went completely nuclear. She started systematically sabotaging my life, throwing away my groceries when I wasn't looking, accidentally breaking my laptop before major assignments, turning off the Wi-Fi whenever Laura visited, even hiding my car keys so I'd be late for work. Dad just watched it all happen, never said a single word in my defense. So, I packed everything that night, changed my phone number, went completely no contact for 1-2 years. Laura and I got married 3 years later, built an absolutely amazing life together. I became a successful software engineer. She's a veterinarian with her own practice. We just bought our dream house and we're actively trying for kids. I genuinely thought I'd forgotten my old family existed until Josh randomly shows up at my door last week, looking like absolute hell. Hollow sunken eyes, visibly shaking hands, easily 20 pounds thinner than I remembered him being. "Dude, I seriously need to tell you something," he says with desperation in his voice. "After you left, Mom became completely obsessed with the idea that you'd eventually come crawling back home. She kept your entire room exactly the same for 3 full years. Like some kind of weird shrine. That's really weird, but okay. It gets so much worse than that. Josh is actually crying now. She started catfishing random girls online, pretending to be me, trying to find someone who looked exactly like Laura. When that didn't work at all, she hired an expensive private investigator to track down Laura's current address and daily work schedule. My blood completely ran cold. What the hell are you talking about? She's been sending Laura anonymous threatening letters for years, telling her she stole her son's future and completely destroyed our family. Really graphic, threatening stuff about what she deserves. Laura never told you because she didn't want to worry you unnecessarily, but she's been carrying pepper spray everywhere for the past 5 years. I grabbed my phone with completely shaking hands. 12 missed calls from Laura, 15 urgent text messages, all sent within the last hour. The most recent message just said, "She somehow found our new address. I'm hiding at my sister's house. Don't come home alone tonight." Josh kept talking through his tears. "Mom made me apply to jobs in every single city you've ever lived in. She's been tracking your social media through multiple fake accounts. She knows exactly where you work, what car you drive, even what gym you go to and when. Why are you telling me all this now?" "Because Dad finally died last month and I found all her secret files hidden in the basement. Boxes and boxes of printed photos of you and Laura, printed emails, detailed maps with your addresses circled in red marker. She's been planning something really big for your wedding anniversary next week." That's when it hit me. Josh wasn't finished. He told me Beth had gotten a job 3 months ago as an administrative assistant at the hospital where Laura worked. She'd been walking the same halls, eating in the same cafeteria, watching Laura's every move while wearing a name tag with a fake name. Last week, Beth requested access to Laura's schedule system under the guise of coordinating some files. The hospital approved it. I immediately called Laura's clinic, and the receptionist told me someone claiming to be Laura's sister had just picked up her keys because Laura supposedly locked herself out. Beth was already inside our house. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped the phone. "Josh, we need to go, right now." He nodded, his face pale. "I'm coming with you. You need a witness for whatever we find." The drive back to my house felt like it took forever, even though we were doing like 80 inches of 55 zone. Josh kept trying to call Beth, but she wasn't picking up. I was texting Laura the whole time, telling her to stay at her sister's place no matter what, that I had this handled. She kept asking what was happening, but I didn't want to freak her out more than she already was. When we got to my street, I spotted Beth's car immediately. She'd parked it 2 blocks away behind this random bush, like she thought that would hide it. The thing is, I recognized her license plate because Josh had sent me a photo of it earlier when he was explaining everything. "That's her car," Josh said, pointing. His voice was shaking. We parked down the street and approached the house from the back. I had my phone out, ready to record everything. The back door was unlocked, which immediately set off alarm bells because Laura and I are crazy paranoid about locking up. Beth must have used the keys she'd stolen from the clinic. Inside, the house was quiet. too quiet. We moved through the kitchen and I could hear someone moving around upstairs, in our bedroom. When we got up there, I honestly couldn't believe what I was seeing. Beth was standing in the middle of our bedroom, wearing latex gloves, going through Laura's jewelry box like she owned the place. She had this big canvas bag at her feet, and I could see it was stuffed with Laura's things. Underwear from her drawer, prescription bottles from the bathroom, even some of Laura's work files. She looked up when we walked in and didn't even seem surprised. Just smiled at us like we were expected guests. "Hey, honey," she said to me, like this was completely normal. "Took you long enough to come home. What the hell are you doing?" I pulled out my phone and started recording. "You broke into my house." "Our house," she corrected, still smiling that creepy smile. "This should have been our family home. You, me, your father, Josh, all of us together. But that woman ruined everything." Josh stepped forward. "Mom, this is insane. You need to leave right now." She finally looked at him, and her face twisted into something ugly. You were supposed to be on my side. You were supposed to help me fix this family." She turned back to me. Laura ruined Josh's entire life when she rejected him. He could have had a successful girlfriend who motivated him, but instead he got nothing, and you got everything. "Mom, I never wanted Laura," Josh said desperately. "You made me think I did. You kept pushing me to follow her around, to talk to her. That was all you." Beth ignored him completely. She held up one of Laura's necklaces, examining it in the light. "I've been planning this for 12 years, you know. Every single day since you left, I've been working toward this moment." I kept my phone steady, making sure I got everything. "So you admit you've been harassing Laura? Sending her threatening letters?" "Threatening?" Beth laughed. "I was warning her. She needed to understand what she did, what she took from me. I lost both my sons because of her. You left, and Josh became useless without you here to compete with." "You're completely delusional," I said. "Josh, show her the files you found." Josh pulled out his phone with shaking hands and showed Beth the photos he'd taken in Dad's basement. Pages and pages of her journals, detailing every plan she'd made, maps with our addresses, screenshots of fake social media accounts she'd created to stalk us. "You've been tracking us for years," Josh said. "You made me apply to jobs in every city he lived in. You made me spy on him whenever I could. I thought I was helping you heal from losing him, but you were just using me." Beth's expression didn't change. She just shrugged. "So what? A mother protects her family. I was protecting what was mine." She pulled out another prescription bottle from the bag, examining the label. "I already made copies of your house keys weeks ago. I've been inside this place 6 times when you weren't home. I know everything about your life now." My stomach turned. "You've been in our house? While we were sleeping?" "Just watching," she said casually. "Making sure you were okay. Making sure she was treating you right." She paused. "I also accessed Laura's work computer at the hospital last month. Got into her bank accounts, her client files, everything. Did you know she's been making quite a bit of money with that little clinic of hers?" "You stole her identity information," I said, still recording. "That's a felony." "I borrowed it," Beth corrected. "And I've already done so much more than that. I filed 6 complaints against her veterinary license using fake client identities. Detailed complaints, too, using information I got from her computer. The state board is investigating her right now." Josh looked like he might throw up. "Mom, what the hell?" Beth finally turned to him with real anger in her eyes. "You want to know what I did? I spent 12 years putting together the perfect plan to make that woman disappear so your brother would come home where he belongs. I have enough dirt on her to destroy her career, her reputation, everything. And once she's gone, he'll realize his mistake." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small notebook. "I've documented every single move she's made for the past 5 years. Every client she's seen, every friend she's met with, every time she went to the grocery store. I know her better than she knows herself." I felt sick. This was way worse than I'd thought. "You're not destroying anything. We're done here." I grabbed Beth by the arm, not rough but firm, and started walking her toward the stairs. Josh followed behind us, looking completely shell-shocked. "Get your hands off me," Beth hissed, but she didn't fight back. She just kept smiling that creepy smile. "You can't stop what's already in motion. The complaints are filed. The damage is done." We got her outside, and Josh and I stood there watching her, making sure she got in her car. Before she drove off, she rolled down the window. "See you at your anniversary dinner," she called out sweetly. "I know exactly where you made reservations." Then she drove away. I immediately called our locksmith and had him come out that night to change every single lock on the house. Cost me like $400, but I didn't care. While we waited for him, Josh and I went through the whole house looking for anything Beth might have left behind or taken. In the bathroom, we found a tiny camera hidden in the smoke detector. In our bedroom, another one in the bookshelf. She'd been watching us, actually watching us in our own home. I backed up all the videos and recordings to 3 different cloud services and sent copies to Laura's sister just in case. Then I finally called Laura and told her everything. She was quiet for a long time after I finished. Then she said, "I need to show you something when you get here." I drove to her sister's house, and Laura met me at the door. She looked exhausted. We went up to her sister's guest room and she opened her laptop. "I didn't want to worry you," she started, "but Beth's been worse than I told you." She pulled up a folder on her desktop labeled Evidence. Inside were hundreds of screenshots, threatening emails dating back 7 years, Facebook messages from fake accounts telling her she was a homewrecker, Instagram DMs describing graphic violence, text messages from unknown numbers that came in the middle of the night. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. "Because you'd been through so much already," Laura said quietly. "You cut off your entire family for me. I didn't want you to feel like that sacrifice was for nothing, or like you had to protect me from this. I thought if I just ignored her, she'd eventually give up. But Beth hadn't given up. She'd escalated." The next morning, Laura got a call from her practice manager. 3 of their biggest clients had canceled appointments that week. When the manager asked why, they all cited the same thing. They'd received anonymous complaints about Laura's professionalism and treatment of animals. The complaints included specific details about cases, details that only someone with access to Laura's files would know. "It has to be Beth," Laura said. "She had access to my work computer at the hospital. We spent that entire day documenting everything. I created this massive timeline in a Google Doc, starting from when I first left home 12 years ago and including every single incident we could remember or prove. Dates, locations, screenshots, photos, recordings, everything." Josh came over and added his part too. He showed us text messages from our dad from years ago. Apparently, Dad had known about Beth's obsession the whole time but did nothing. One message from 3 years ago said, "Your mother is still convinced he'll come back. I don't know how to help her move on." Another from 2 years ago, "I'm worried about her behavior but I can't control her. Just stay away from your brother like she asked." "He knew," Josh said, his voice breaking. "He knew she was doing all this and he just let it happen." That's when Laura said, "There's more. I found out last week that Beth's been emailing my colleagues at the hospital. She made a fake email address that's super similar to mine, just 1 letter different. She's been sending inappropriate messages, propositioning people, saying weird stuff. My boss pulled me aside yesterday and asked if everything was okay at home. I felt my blood pressure spike. She's trying to get you fired. She's succeeding," Laura said quietly. "2 people have filed complaints with HR. They think I've been sexually harassing them. That night, I barely slept. I kept checking our security cameras, watching for any sign of Beth. Around 3 a.m., her car drove slowly past our house. She didn't stop, just crawled by at like 5 miles per hour. I watched her do it again at 5 a.m. The next day, Laura went to her clinic and found a package waiting for her. Inside were printed photos of our house's interior, our bedroom from multiple angles, our bathroom, even photos of us sleeping that must have been taken with those hidden cameras. There was a note included in Beth's handwriting. "I've been taking care of you both, making sure you're safe. You're welcome." Laura called me immediately, panicking. Her hands were shaking so bad she could barely hold her phone. I told her to bring the package home and not to touch it anymore. We needed to preserve it as evidence. When she got home, we looked through everything carefully. The photos were dated. The most recent one was from 2 weeks ago. Beth had been inside our house while we were sleeping just 14 days before we caught her. "How many times?" Laura whispered. "How many times has she been in here while we were unconscious?" I didn't have an answer. That week, things got worse. Laura checked her bank account and found 3 unauthorized charges from the past month. Small amounts, $50 here, $75 there, but charges she definitely didn't make. When she called the bank, they told her the charges came from her work computer at the hospital. Beth had accessed Laura's bank information and was testing to see if she'd notice. Then Laura's boss called her in for a meeting. The veterinary board had received 5 formal complaints about her treatment of animals, all from different clients, all with detailed descriptions of alleged neglect. Laura had to bring in her complete case files to prove the complaints were fabricated. "She's going to ruin me," Laura said that night. "My license, my practice, everything I built. She's going to destroy it all." We decided to contact the hospital's HR department directly. I sent them everything. The recordings of Beth admitting to stealing credentials, photos of her fake name tag, evidence that she'd used her position to access private information. The hospital was horrified. They immediately revoked all of Beth's access to their systems and flagged her in their database so she could never work in healthcare again. They also offered to help Laura file for identity theft protection. But Beth wasn't done. She started showing up at Laura's clinic during business hours. She wouldn't come inside, just stood outside the window, staring in. Laura's staff started asking if they should be worried, if they should call someone. "She's just watching," the receptionist told me when I stopped by one day. "She's been out there for 2 hours now. It's really creeping everyone out." I went outside to confront Beth. She was standing on the sidewalk across the street, arms crossed, just staring at the building. "You need to leave," I told her. "Public sidewalk," she said simply. "I can stand wherever I want. You're harassing my wife." "I'm observing," Beth corrected, "making sure the animals in there are being properly cared for. Someone has to make sure she's not neglecting them like she neglected Josh." I pulled out my phone and took photos of her standing there. "I'm documenting this." "Good," she smiled. I'm documenting her too. Been doing it for years. When I got home, I installed more security cameras. We had them covering every angle of the property now. And it was a good thing, because Beth was driving by our house multiple times every single day. Sometimes she'd slow down and take photos. Sometimes she'd just stare. Josh called me one night, sounding stressed. Dude, I need to tell you something. Mom's been draining my bank accounts for years. I just got access to my statements from when I was younger and she was taking money constantly. I think she's been using it to hire private investigators and fund all her stalking. How much? Over $40,000, Josh said. I'm basically broke. I thought I was bad with money, but it was her the whole time. He'd finally had enough and tried to confront Beth about it. She just laughed and told him it was family money, that she had a right to it because she raised him. When he threatened to report it, she told him no one would believe him over his own mother. That's when things took another turn. Laura's parents called her frantic. They said a woman claiming to be their neighbor had contacted them with concerns about Laura. The woman told them Laura was involved in illegal activities, that she was abusing animals at her practice, that she'd ruined a young man's life and was now trying to cover it up. Laura's mom was crying on the phone. Honey, we know it's not true, but this woman was so convincing. She had specific details about your work, about where you live. She said she was just concerned and wanted us to know. We realized Beth had tracked down Laura's parents and was now trying to turn them against their own daughter. Laura's dad got on the phone. Send me everything you have on this woman. Every piece of evidence. I want to know who we're dealing with. We sent him the entire documentation file, phone records, emails, photos, videos, the timeline we'd created, everything. Laura's parents were shocked. Her mom called back an hour later and said Beth had tried calling them 5 more times. They blocked her number. But Beth found other ways to contact them. She sent letters to their house. She found Laura's dad's work email and sent him messages. She even showed up at their church one Sunday, sitting in the back row watching them. Laura's dad called me after that. This woman is genuinely dangerous. What are you doing to protect my daughter? Everything I can, I told him. Meanwhile, Beth escalated again. She created this detailed website using our full names and photos she'd stolen. The website claimed Laura was a neglectful veterinarian who abused animals, and that I was a deadbeat who'd abandoned my family. She posted fake reviews, made up stories from alleged clients, even forged documents. The website showed up on the first page of Google when you searched Laura's name. I spent the next 2 days documenting everything on the website, taking screenshots, preserving evidence. Then I contacted the web hosting company with proof of defamation and identity theft. They took it down within 48 hours and banned Beth's account. But the damage was done. Laura's clinic had already lost 3 clients who'd found the website and believed it. Her practice manager told her they might need to hire a reputation management company to fix the online damage. This is costing me thousands, Laura said. She's destroying my business. The veterinary board complaint kept escalating too. Beth had submitted forged documents claiming to be from former clients, detailed statements about alleged abuse and neglect. The board was taking it seriously enough that Laura had to gather actual client testimonials to disprove every single allegation. We spent weeks calling clients, explaining the situation, asking them to provide written statements about their positive experiences. Most people were happy to help, but it was exhausting and humiliating to have to defend herself against lies. Josh decided he'd had enough. He called me one night and said, "I'm done with her. I'm cutting her off completely. I can't keep enabling this." He moved into a cheap apartment across town the next week. Beth immediately started harassing him too. She showed up at his workplace and caused a scene, screaming about how both her sons had abandoned her, how ungrateful we both were. Josh's boss had to call security to escort her out. She told my boss I'm on drugs, Josh told me later. Said I need help and she was there to save me. My boss thinks I have a crazy ex-girlfriend now. But then we discovered something that made everything even worse. Josh found out that Beth had been renting an apartment for the past 6 months. Not just any apartment, one with a direct view of our house. She'd been living there part-time, watching us with binoculars and a camera with a telephoto lens. The apartment was literally 2 blocks away. We'd had no idea. Josh had found the lease agreement while helping Beth move some boxes. When he confronted her about it, she didn't even try to hide it. "I needed to make sure you were safe," she told him. "Someone has to look out for my son since he won't look out for himself." We contacted the landlord with evidence of what Beth was using the apartment for. The landlord was horrified and agreed to start eviction proceedings immediately, saying Beth had violated the lease by using the property for harassment. Beth retaliated by slashing Laura's tires in the clinic parking lot. The security cameras there didn't quite catch that angle, but there was a note on the windshield afterward. "You can't run from what you did. I'll always find you." That's when I decided enough was enough. I compiled every single piece of evidence we had into one comprehensive document. Every photo, every video, every recording, every screenshot, the timeline of 12 years of harassment. Josh's testimony about the money she'd stolen from him, the hospital's statement about her fake employment and identity theft. I printed copies and shared it with our entire neighborhood through the community association's email list. I included Beth's photo and car description and asked everyone to report any sightings to me immediately. The response was overwhelming. Multiple neighbors came forward saying they'd seen Beth in the area at odd hours. One person said they'd caught her trying to look through their windows last month. Another said their doorbell camera had captured her walking through our yard at night. "We thought she was just some weird lady," one neighbor told me. "We had no idea she was stalking you." The neighborhood started keeping watch. People would call or text me whenever they spotted Beth's car. She couldn't drive down our street anymore without someone documenting it. Laura's practice finally got cleared by the veterinary board. After reviewing all the evidence Laura provided, they determined every single complaint had been fabricated. They included a note in Laura's file that she'd been the target of a harassment campaign and that any future complaints would be heavily scrutinized. It was a huge relief, but Laura was exhausted. "I can't believe I had to prove I'm not an animal abuser," she said. 12 years of building my reputation and she almost destroyed it in months. Then Beth lost her new job. I'd found out where she was working and sent them the documented evidence of her harassment campaign and identity theft history. They fired her within a week. She blamed me publicly on social media, posting rants about how I'd destroyed her life, how I'd stolen her son and ruined her family. But Josh and I systematically reported every single post that mentioned us by name or shared our photos. Most of her accounts got suspended for harassment and doxing. Beth would create new accounts, but Josh had gotten good at identifying her patterns. He'd spot her new profiles within hours and report them immediately. Her reach was limited now, and most people who saw her posts thought she was just some crazy person online. But Beth wasn't giving up. Laura discovered she'd been calling the clinic's emergency line after hours, pretending to be clients with dying pets. Laura would rush to the clinic, adrenaline pumping, only to find no one there. It happened 5 times before we figured out it was Beth. We installed a call screening system at the clinic. The staff was trained to verify all emergency calls with callback numbers and specific details about the pet before Laura would drive in. Beth's behavior became more erratic. Our home security cameras caught her trying to leave dead flowers on our porch at 3 a.m. Another night, she was caught on camera pressing her face against our living room window, just staring inside. Josh called one morning, his voice shaking. "Mom's burned through everything. Dad's life insurance, her savings, all the money she took from me. She's facing eviction." "Good," I said. "No, you don't understand. She's going to get worse. She has nothing left to lose." He was right. Beth started targeting Josh more aggressively. She showed up at his apartment screaming about how both her sons had betrayed her and ruined her life. She pounded on his door for hours. When Josh called his landlord, they threatened to evict him if the noise continued. Josh changed his locks and gave me copies of his apartment keys. "Just in case something happens," he said. "I want someone to be able to get in." He also recorded some of their recent conversations and sent them to me. In one, Beth admitted she never actually cared about Josh's happiness. "You were just supposed to be the good one," she said on the recording. "The one who stayed. But you ruined that too. Both my sons are failures. I tried to make you happy," Josh said in the recording. "You were never supposed to make me happy. You were supposed to do what I told you." Listening to it made me sick. Josh had spent his whole life trying to please a woman who saw him as a tool, not a son. Then I got a message from someone I hadn't heard from in 15 years. My Aunt Janet, Beth's sister. She'd somehow found my contact information. "I heard about what's been happening," her message said. "I'm so sorry. Beth has always been like this. The family ignored it for too long. I called her and we talked for 2 hours. Janet told me Beth had stalked an ex-boyfriend in college, following him to classes and work until he had to get the police involved. She'd also manipulated my dad into marriage by faking a pregnancy. Josh wasn't an accident," Janet explained. "Beth lied about being pregnant to trap your father. By the time he found out the truth, she actually was pregnant. He felt obligated to stay. Why didn't anyone tell me? Your father made us promise not to. He thought if you knew, you'd look at Josh differently. He didn't want Josh to suffer for Beth's manipulation." Janet also told me Beth had been cut off from most of the family years ago because of her behavior. No one trusted her. No one wanted her around their kids. "She's burned every bridge she had," Janet said. "I tried to help her get therapy, but she refused. Said there was nothing wrong with her, that everyone else was the problem." A week later, Beth's landlord proceeded with her eviction. She'd been caught trying to break into another tenant's unit, claiming she thought it was hers, even though her apartment was on a different floor. The landlord was done with her excuses. Beth had nowhere to go. Her credit was destroyed from years of reckless spending on her stalking activities. No one in the family would take her in. Josh definitely wasn't going to help her. She started living in her car. But she was still driving past our house every single day, still parking outside Laura's clinic, still showing up at random places we frequented. Laura received one final complaint at her practice. this time claiming Laura had physically threatened Beth. But the clinic's security footage proved Beth hadn't been near the building in 3 weeks. The complaint was dismissed immediately, and the person who received it told Laura they were flagging Beth's information in case she tried to file anything else. Then Beth made the mistake of showing up at my workplace. She walked into the lobby and started screaming about abandonment and betrayal, about how I'd destroyed our family and ruined her life. My boss was in the lobby when it happened. He witnessed everything. Beth screaming, her wild accusations, the way she tried to grab my arm when I told her to leave. He had security escort her out and issued a permanent ban from the building. "That's your mother?" he asked after she was gone. "Stepmom, and I haven't seen her in 12 years until recently. Well, if she comes back, we're calling the police. That's not acceptable behavior." Josh called me a few days later with an update. "Mom's car broke down 3 blocks from your house. It's been sitting there for 2 days. I think she's abandoned it." The car got towed eventually. Josh got a call from the impound lot because Beth had listed him as her emergency contact. They wanted to know if he'd claim the vehicle. "Hell no," Josh told them. "I don't even talk to her anymore." When the impound lot searched the car, they found notebooks filled with Beth's observations about our daily routines, photos of our house, printed copies of our social media posts, maps with routes marked. It was like a stalker's portfolio. Beth finally contacted Janet asking for money and a place to stay. Janet's response was simple: "I'll help you if you agree to get professional psychiatric help. Otherwise, no." Beth rejected the offer, told Janet she didn't need help, that she was the only one who could see the truth about what Laura had done to our family. Janet called me after that conversation. "She's completely delusional. She genuinely believes she's the victim here. I'm sorry I can't do more." "You tried," I told her. "That's more than most of the family did." Then, 3 weeks ago, something changed. Our security cameras showed no activity from Beth, no drive-bys, no lurking outside at odd hours. Nothing. I was suspicious at first, thought maybe she'd just gotten better at hiding. But Josh called me last week with news. "Mom moved," he said. "She contacted some old friend from high school who lives like 3 states away. She's gone." "Are you sure?" "Yeah." The friend called me asking what the hell was wrong with Mom. Said she showed up out of nowhere, completely broke, talking about her sons who betrayed her. The friend gave her a place to stay temporarily, but said Mom seems really unstable. I checked our security cameras obsessively for the next few days. No sign of Beth. Laura checked her clinic's parking lot. Nothing. Our neighbors said they hadn't seen her car. Josh confirmed it yesterday. "She's really gone." The friend texted me. "Mom's living with her now, but she's barely functional. Apparently she just sits around all day talking about you and Laura, about how she lost everything." "Good," Laura said when I told her. "Let her sit with what she did." That night, Laura and I finally had the conversation we'd been putting off for months, about trying for kids again, about moving forward with our lives now that Beth's obsession seemed to have finally burned itself out. "Do you think she'll come back?" Laura asked. "I don't know, but we'll be ready if she does. We still have all the security cameras up, still have every piece of evidence backed up in multiple places, still check over our shoulders more than we probably should.